Welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to install the door, mount the weather station on the base, and install the instruments, as well as do a final wrap-up. As usual, if you'd like, you can always email me at andrew@levelplumbandsquare.com, or you're more than welcome to visit the website. Before we get started, I'd like to take just a moment to talk about shop safety. Be sure to read, understand, and follow all the safety instructions that come with your power tools. And if you don't understand something, find somebody that can show you how to do it correctly. And remember, there's no more important safety rule than to use this, your brain, because it's no fun sifting through the sawdust looking for your fingers. It's time to install the hinges for the door. We're just going to at least cut the mortises for it so that I can make sure that I have a finish everywhere. To do that, I started by locating the hinges in the correct position. I went ahead and used a utility knife to score around where I wanted those hinges to go to identify it. I went back with the chisel and kind of made those marks just a little bit deeper. So you can see where I've gone ahead and outlined and then cut in with a chisel for the mortise. I'll now use a 1/2-inch mortising bit in my trim router to plow out the majority of the material. I can now remove the rest of the material with just a sharp chisel. To finish installing the hinge, I'm just going to use a Vicks bit in my drill, perfectly center the hole in the hinge. Now that we have the hinges installed in the weather station, we can now install them on the door. And I'm just going to line up the door in the opening, and we can just mark for the hinge location. I've gone ahead and taken the hinges off of the weather station, and so I can mark their locations on the door. Gone ahead and laid them on my marks. I'll put my mark, and then I can continue with marking their location. As you can see, I've now installed the hinges on the door as well, and it looks like everything fits good. If you're real careful and you look down here, you'll notice that I made a mistake. Now, I missed my layout marks and misplaced where I put my mortise. So I'm going to have to go ahead and patch that in. I have some scrap material that shouldn't be too hard at all, but just to show that things don't always turn out the way everybody expects. Well, you can see where I missed my mortise. So I've gone ahead and I've cut a piece of material that's a little bit thicker and a little bit wider than that, and I'll just glue that in place, and then I can plane that flush once the glue dries. To hold everything in place while the glue dries, I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of blue tape. Everything has had at least one coat of primer and 2 top coats of paint, and now we're ready for our final assembly. I'm going to start by installing this board in the back that will hold the sensor for the thermometer. This is the only thing that actually has to be inside of the the weather station. Everything else will be outside, and we'll get to installing that in just a minute. I went ahead and attached this with a couple of brass screws here, and I'm going to go ahead and screw it in place with a couple of stainless steel screws next. Now that we have the interior support installed, let's go ahead and attach the door. Now that I have the hinges installed, I'll go ahead and install the latch. And to hold it closed while I'm doing that, I'll use a clamp. I'm just going to be using a barrel latch for a latch on this, and I'll just center it in the door, which will be at about 9 inches. To drill the holes, I'll just be using a Vicks bit to center them. Now that the latch is done, let's go ahead and start installing the weather hardware. So the first thing I want to do now is go ahead and detach this base, and I'll just turn the house around and we can go ahead and get them installed. Okay. I have 3 bases to install, and I'm going to put those along the back, kind of up close to the weather station, and these are going to contain, it's both a photovoltaic panel and then the sending unit for whatever this happens to be attached to, and this happens to be the thermometer. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to use some 1 1/4" number 8 screws, and these are all stainless steel as well. I've gone ahead and started to install the sending units. I've got the first 2 installed, and now I need to install the rain gauge, and we're just going to do that with some brass screws out here. Once again, everything's either brass or stainless. I don't want anything to rust on this. We have all the sending unit, at least the base, is in place. I can't attach the anemometer until I get it outside because that's going to be attached to a large pole. Let's go ahead and spin it around here. One of the problems we have, if you look inside right now, is I have this big mess of wires right here. And what I'm going to do, I don't want those to just sit there. I want them to kind of hide those. So I had a couple of offcuts from when I originally cut down the saloon doors. And this is the one that had the cracked slats in it. And I just went ahead and I glued those up so that I can make a little cover that I can hide all those wires behind, and I'll wrap those up in a nice neat bundle before I do that. And now you can see also in here I have the sending unit. I'm also going to be putting a few other things in here, and I'll show you that once I get it completed. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and attach the weather station to the base. So here's the base. You can see now that it's fully constructed. I kind of got the effect I was hoping for with these cross braces being diagonal on each one, where if you look straight through, you kind of see that X pattern. To attach the base to the weather station. I'm just going to lay it down here, and we're going to put some holes. We'll probably do 2 screws in each one of these corner blocks. I'm using number 12 1.25" stainless steel screws to attach it. We'll make sure we countersink those as well. Well, now that we have it outside, you get a better idea of what it's going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and attach it with some screws like I mentioned before. First we'll pre-drill a hole into the bottom. Now it's time to attach the anemometer, and to do that I'll attach it to this 8-foot piece of aluminum tubing, and we're just going to have to build a quick bracket that'll attach it back here to this side. One of the things you're going to notice is that 8 feet isn't going to get into good clear wind around here. If I really want to make the anemometer feasible, I would have to go to about 100 feet to clear all the trees and get up out of the effects of the houses and everything else. So this is going to be more for show, but it's still fun to have. To attach the anemometer, I've gone ahead and I've lowered the pole back down, and it just installs with a couple of U-bolts. We'll just put that over the top, and we'll snug it up and get it close to where we want it to be. The big challenge will be once we get it in its final location, we have to adjust it so that it points the right direction to identify correct wind direction. So now that I have the anemometer installed to top, I'm going to go ahead and raise it up temporarily, and that way we can move the weather station to its final location. Well, that about wraps up this project. If we look inside, I still have to attach a chain here to hold this up, but other than that, everything is pretty much ready to go. You can see it's pretty clear inside. I've added a few things. Here's a min-max thermometer so the kids can come out and check what the temperature is doing. I also have a little wind gauge here as well that the kids can use. All the information from this system will report back inside to this little display pad, so I don't have to get up and run across the living room and into the kitchen and turn on the light to look out the window to see what the outside thermometer says. Now I can just run across the living room and look at it. Or in reality, I could probably just do one of these things. Suri, what's the temperature outside?
It's currently 55 degrees.
So that might be just a little bit easier doing it that way. One last thing we need to do is kind of visit the cuss jar here. This was actually a really easy project. It only took a couple of weekends to do. The biggest problem I had with it that I didn't care for was the sanding of all the louvers as well as painting all of them. Now it went a lot easier. I started off with a 2-inch sash brush and I switched to a 1-inch sash brush, and that made it a lot easier. But other than that, that was the hardest part of the whole project. So because of that, I'm just going to throw a couple of quarters into the cuss jar. Now I'd like to remind you, just because I call it the cuss jar doesn't mean that's what I'm doing when I'm working on this project. Just a reminder, the website is up and running. It's still under development, but we're getting there. And as usual, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, feel free to email me. Until next time, keep it level, plumb, and square.